I'm Angie, and I'm outraged. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Gamer Crafting Podcast, and today I'm talking about things that outrage me. I mean, stuff that I just cannot even begin to deal with. And do you want to know what number one on my list of things that I cannot even begin to deal with is? People who put raisins in carrot cake. Why? Why are you ruining a perfectly good carrot cake with your horrible raisins? Raisins belong in trail mix and in those tiny red Sun-Maid boxes that you put in your kid's lunch. Raisins are fine by themselves, but don't be besmirching baked goods with raisins. And as we're on the topic of raisins in carrot cake, let's talk about oatmeal raisin cookies. Have you ever felt the crushing and utter disappointment when you think you're about to bite into a chocolate chip cookie and it turns out to be oatmeal raisin? Ugh, no. For the record, I do kind of like oatmeal cookies, but they are absolutely no. They are no replacement for chocolate chip. If what you really want in the world is a chocolate chip cookie, you see a tray of cookies when you walk into the office and you're like, yes, I need a dose of sugar to get me through this afternoon, or I might punch my coworker in the face because they won't stop talking and let me do my work. And you go and you're like, yes, I have a cup of tea and I have a chocolate chip cookie, and you bite into the utter disappointment, crushing sadness that is an oatmeal raisin cookie. Do you know what else outrages me? Having to weave my ends in at the end of a project. It's unfair. I shouldn't have to do anything else. I'm supposed to be done with the project. And now I'm supposed to sit here after I've soaked and after I've blocked it and take ages weaving the ends in. And that doesn't even start with weaving the ends in. You have to start with finding wherever the hell you put your yarn needle, which is never where you think it is. It's never in like the cutesy tins that you buy for yourself at yarn shows that you think, I'm always going to put my yarn needles back in here so that I won't lose them anymore. No, that is never ever what happens. Do you know how many of those super cutesy tins that I've bought at yarn shows? I don't know, 6, 7? Do you know how many yarn needles are in any of those tins? 0. None. There are no yarn needles in there. I can never ever find the yarn needles. Whether they're in those cutesy tins, whether they're in those like little tubes that you get where they have, 4 or 5 or 6 yarn needles. No, not in the tubes, not in the tins, not even in the couch cushions. They just get absorbed into the void that is your living space, along with all of the odd socks and bobby pins and hair ties and all of the lids for your Tupperware, all sucked into the void with your yarn needles. Also, what irritates me is having to wind the yarn in the first place. I know that it's necessary. I know that you shouldn't store your yarn in balls or in cakes because it can stress the fibers and make them less stretchy and ruin the fiber memory. But when I get inspiration to start a project because somebody posted a pattern on Ravelry at 3 a.m. and I'm still awake watching reruns on Netflix because I don't have any self-control enough to go to sleep, I really just want to sit on the couch and cast on something new, not, have to set up a Swift and a ball winder and probably wake up my downstairs neighbors with my ball winder with the skipping gears that makes a horrible grinding sound every time I use it. And I also don't want to sit on the couch and do it around my knees if it's anything, anything a lighter weight than chunky. I will wind chunky yarn sitting on the couch while it's wrapped around my knees. Anything else? Ugh. No, I just want to start the thing. I don't want to have the patience to go and actually wind it into a cake like some sort of responsible knitter who doesn't want to tangle her yarn. Let's also talk about cleaning. I don't know anyone who enjoys cleaning. I'm sure people are out there. I'm sure there's people that really love cleaning. It brings them a real sense of purpose, and they love watching something go from being messy to being tidy and things that are kind of gross into being clean. I'm sure that y'all are out there, and, I'm glad that you are, because for the rest of us, cleaning sucks. I hate cleaning. I don't know anyone who's like, I'm really excited to do my chores today instead of sitting around and doing what I actually want to do, which is watching reruns on Netflix and starting something at 3 a.m. or playing video games or reading a book. No, instead, we're all sucked into this horrible cycle of having to clean things that we only just finished cleaning because it gets dirty again, like some sort of horrible nightmare cycle. Just no. I mean, we all know about the dishes, right? You wash the dishes, then you use the dishes, and then you're expected to clean them again. They get dirty every time you use them. I mean, I guess there's a way around it if you have a dishwasher, but for those of us without dishwashers or who have dishwashers that don't actually clean the dishes, you just have to suck it up and you have to do dishes like multiple times a day when you could be doing other things that are more fun. Where are our robots to come and wash the dishes for us? That's what I want to know. And do you know what else? Dusting. Do you know what's boring? Dusting. I always got that chore as a kid. Always hated it. Dusting, boring. And it's just, where does it come from? I know where it comes from. Don't remind me. But having to go and dust things, you just think, I didn't even do anything actively to make this dirty. It feels unfair that I'm having to clean it now. It is unfair that I'm having to go and dust the shelf with the Funko Pops on it for the third time this year because it's dusty when I'm like, I wasn't even over here. I didn't touch any of this stuff. I didn't do anything actively to mess it up. At least with dishes, you can think, well, I did eat food on that, so it's only fair that I should have to clean it up. But dusting, I didn't even do anything to make it dusty. Unfair. And while we're on the topic of dusting, can we talk about baseboards? Who wants to clean the baseboards? It's this thing that apparently we're supposed to be doing. You have to get on the floor and you have to scoot around on your butt and wipe down the baseboards. And you'll probably see some spiders down there because it's autumn and it's when spiders like to wander around. Personally, I'm not that bothered by spiders, but I know a lot of you probably are. No, baseboards, come on, that's just an unfair level of expectation when it comes to keeping a house clean. By the way, if you hate cleaning as much as I do, you should definitely check out the Unf Your Habitat app. It's good for keeping motivation of actually keeping stuff clean when you just feel this bristling ultra hatred for having to clean things when you'd rather be doing anything else. By the way, I fully support you if what you decide after watching this is, I don't want to clean today and I'm going to sit on the couch and knit instead and watch Netflix reruns. I support you. You should do that. You can do the dishes tomorrow or the next day. I don't know your life. Make somebody else do the dishes. If you have kids, make them do the dishes. Ask your spouse to do the dishes. I don't know. I'm just throwing things around. You know why else I'm outraged? There's no release date for the Witchbrook game. Why? Give me a release date. I'm going to play so much of this game, I'm going to forget that I'm actually human. Please just give me the game so that I can just drown in a sea of unreality, because, that's kind of what some of us need, especially at this point in time, in this particular political hellscape. Sometimes you just want some escapism. For those of you who don't know, Witchbrook is going to be a new game from the same creator who made Stardew Valley, which is probably one of my top 5 games. I've logged an absolutely wild amount of hours in Stardew Valley, which most of you know is sort of a farming and daily life simulator, but it's super cute and it's really wholesome and I love it and it's really calming for my type A super anxious self. Stardew Valley is where it's at. Witchbrook is by the same creator, but it's magical, right? It's autumn now, it's mid-September, it's gonna be October in a couple of weeks. Give me the witchy, spooky, magical game of my dreams. But no, there's no release date, and even the earliest dates that I can find aren't until December, and those probably aren't even accurate because they're still testing different mechanics within the game, so it's unlikely that there's even going to be a beta test available by December if I was even lucky enough to pray to the video game gods to get a beta key to play the beta version, which I totally would, and absolutely not even care about any bugs that I found, because that's how much I want to play this game. I'm so excited for it. I'm more excited about Witchbrook, which is, if you know the art style of Stardew Valley, it's hardly high res, it's definitely not, this all immersive, VR. No, it's none of that. It's cute, like a sprite pixelated characters and vegetables and cows, and I just want that. I want that in my life. for escapism and reasons. And yes, I will say that in my absolute disappointment and outrage for not having a release date for Witchbrook yet, I did decide to spend an afternoon last weekend downloading a whole bunch of mods for Stardew Valley, which will make it much witchier and more autumnal. I turned my horse into a broomstick, and I turned my baseball cap into a witch's hat, and my house is purple and sort of has moons and things. And so I haven't decided when I'm going to show you that, whether it's going to be during a podcast or whether it's going to be during a live stream where we all just kind of hang out and chat. I don't know. I haven't decided yet, but I'm really, really excited about that too, even though it's not Witchbrook. Do you know what else is outraging that I know will outrage many of you? Bad hold music. And I'm not talking just, 80s music covers of whatever. I'm talking aggressively and frustratingly bad hold music that probably only exists to convince you that you'd rather hang up the phone and give up your place in the queue at the call center than listen to any more of the terrible hold music. And I'm talking about the place that I called yesterday that uses the first 8 bars of Beethoven's Fur-Elise and just plays it, just those 8 bars on a loop forever and ever. And ever. And ever. Just the first 8 bars. That's it. That's all you get. You don't get the rest of it. Just the 8 bars on a loop until you die. Because that's probably going to happen before somebody answers the phone. I'm surprised that I'm not still here listening to the 8 bars of Fur-Elise. Or hold music. That isn't music at all. It's just ads. It's them telling you while you're calling to complain about something because they've done something wrong that you can sign up for this totally cool other thing that's only $12.99 a month. And this has happened. This is particularly common with phone companies. And you're calling to be like, hey, you said you dispatched this new phone that I paid for 3 weeks ago and it's yet to arrive. And every other call I've made has ended in nothing but destruction. But hey, they really want to tell you while you're waiting on hold for 30 minutes that you can totally pay them more money a month for even worse service, I guess. Or hold music that's weirdly staticky, and you have to wonder, where is this hold music coming from? Is it being piped in from some satellite on the other side of the planet? Because that's definitely what it sounds like. What is that even supposed to sound like? I don't know. Is it aliens trying to communicate? Maybe. Maybe they're trying to communicate via hold music. And that's why we've never had contact with an alien race, because they're trying to contact us when we're already angry and waiting on hold. Let's also talk about how there's only 24 hours in a day. I'm outraged that we can't just, stretch the days a little bit longer. Think of what you could do if you had a few more hours in each day. You could have time for more knitting projects. You could cast on more things. You'd have more time to yourself, maybe. You would have more time to work on projects that you care about. Maybe you really want to build a boat in your basement. You would have time for that. Maybe what you really want to do is learn how to cook and have those proper caramelized onions that seem, almost impossible when you're trying to achieve them in some sort of normal time frame that doesn't take 2 hours while you're slowly watching them on the stove, trying not to burn them. Maybe you really want to learn how to cook caramelized onions. Maybe you really want to learn how to cook the perfect omelet that's fluffy and perfect and flavorful. Maybe you really want to take up vegan cooking and learn all of the amazing substitutes that you can use for a plant-based diet. You would have time for that if you had a few more hours in each day. Maybe you'd like to learn Klingon. You could do that if you had a few more hours in each day. I do think that Klingon's on Duolingo if you're looking for something that's slightly less of a time commitment. You could learn a language. You could actually blast through your to-read pile, which I know for many of us is several libraries large by this point in our lives. Am I right? I added 5 books to my to-be-read pile this week, which just seems obscene and completely unattainable. You know how people call having too much yarn sable stash acquired beyond life expectancy? There must be some sort of equivalent for your to-be-read pile being just an absolutely monumentally huge number of books that you know that you'll never get through reading, because every week there's new books that you want to read by amazing authors with super creative and interesting world building, and you just think, well, damn, if only I had those few extra days. If only I had a few extra hours in each day, or a few extra days in the week, that would work too. A few extra days in the week, you could then work 5 days a week and then have 5 days off. That sounds good, right? That's good for everyone. You could also, right, if you had a few extra hours in a day or days in the week, you could catch up on sleep or actually get some sleep, especially for those who have other commitments. Say you have to get up really early to go to work, and then you go and you work all day, and then you have to take care of other humans, whether those other humans are your partners or your children or your family members or friends or whoever you're responsible for. You have to take care of other people, and then you have to somehow find time to, eat dinner that doesn't just consist of noodles every night ad nauseum until you die, because bodies need nutrients now and then. I like noodles. Let's not go there. You'd have time, and you wouldn't have to try and work in, I don't know, going to the gym for people who enjoy that. I don't. I hate going to the gym, even though that I know that I should probably, move around a bit more. I just find the whole process just intensely and utterly boring and mind-numbing, and I don't enjoy it. I've never enjoyed any of it. And you can probably drop in the comments your suggestions for home workouts, but I don't have I just don't do them. I line them all up in my phone, and I download podcasts and I download videos, and then I never actually do them because I find the entire process boring and uninteresting, and I just think I could be doing something else that I'd rather be doing. You could also catch up on all the stuff on Netflix and HBO and all the stuff that everyone's like, oh my god, have you seen this amazing show? You can finally say, yes, I have, because we reversed the polarity of the Earth's gravity, and now we all have a few extra hours in the day or a few days in the week. I don't think that would actually happen. I'm making things up now. And the final thing on my list of outrage today, why can't we just have perpetual autumn? I know that not everybody loves autumn. I love autumn, though. Pumpkin spice haters can just don't at me. Haters to the left. I love pumpkin spice. It's delicious. It makes me happy. It makes me feel cozy. I just want to sit and drink pumpkin spice lattes until my veins are filled with 80% caffeine and I'm just vibrating into some alternative ethereal plane. And I really want to wear my Doc Marten boots and not feel like I'm going to just self-immolate because it's too hot to be wearing boots. And do you know why else autumn is great? Because you can break out your knitwear, the stuff that you spend the rest of the year working on. The shawls, the hats, the gorgeous colorwork yoke jumpers, the leg warmers, the hand-knitted socks. You can just break all of that stuff out in autumn and just wander around in a park where all the trees are turning colors, and you can feel really smug about your life as a whole.
What I'm outraged about is the fact that why doesn't every website have night mode? Why? Night mode is when you have a darker background so your eyes don't get so strained by it. And come on, we need it for every website, please.
Okay, so obviously this podcast was a bit of a silly joke, and it's honestly because dealing with what's actually going on in life right now is quite difficult and emotional, so we decided we would make a silly video instead about silly things that outrage us. We're not really that outraged. If you like raisins in your carrot cake, I don't know, put a whole pound of raisins in your carrot cake if you want. So honestly, right, so there's a lot of really scary stuff happening in the world right now, on a global scale, on a political scale, on a cultural scale. There's a lot of really upsetting things happening for marginalized communities of all kinds, LGBTQ people, people of color. It's a scary time in life, and also for us on a very more specific and acute level. I have a visa renewal coming up next month, and this morning I had to call the home office and convince them that I'm even eligible to receive the application to apply for the visa renewal. And honestly, we never know how this stuff is going to turn out. It's incredibly stressful, even though we have backup plans, and even though we're in a much more privileged position than most people are, who are worried about Brexit and who are worried about their visa renewals and the anti-immigrant culture here in the UK. I love living here. I love living with my wife. I've built a business here. I've worked hard to become a member of the community in which we live. We have friends here. I have amazing friends here. And we've worked hard to gamer crafting up from nothing, basically, starting with a little bit of hand-dyed yarn, and now we've got a whole lot of hand-dyed yarn and lots of other things, and it's scary to think that the rug could just get pulled out from under us at any moment for no real reason. It's frustrating and it's incredibly scary, and a few of you have noticed that we've been a bit quiet on social media, especially on Instagram lately, and honestly, that's why I find it really difficult to be chipper and cheerful and positive when I spend most of the day panicking and making lists of what we can do if everything goes wrong. And if any of you have seen Steven Universe, I've basically just been Blue Diamond for like the last week or so in preparation for having to call this morning. And it's all scary, and honestly, I can't even film this part with Sarah in the room because whenever we both talk about it, we get really upset at the prospect of potentially being forcibly separated for an undetermined amount of time. Like I said, we're very privileged in a way that a lot of people aren't. We don't have children that we have to worry about and account for, nor do we have other family members that we have to care for with regards to health or legal matters. We aren't really responsible for anyone other than ourselves, and that already puts us in a more flexible position than most people. We don't have a mortgage and a house that we'd have to sell or rent out if anything happened. We live in rented accommodation. We can just pick up and move if we have to, and that's not going to be something that's, a real hardship. We're lucky enough that we both come from families that would be willing to help us out, financially if we needed it. A lot of people don't have that. Either they don't have families that would be willing, or they don't have families who would be able. So we're privileged in the way that we have different options if things don't go the way that we want them to go. We have options in that I am only about 6 months away from getting my Italian citizenship finalized. And once I have my Italian citizenship, obviously I can live in any of the EU countries. Even if the UK leaves, we could move somewhere else. Most people don't have that. They're not going to have that kind of multiple different options, and they don't have security nets. And if we are this stressed and upset at the prospect of having to deal with this, just think about how it is for other people who have kids, who have parents that they need to take care of, or grandparents, or who have mortgages or jobs that they can't just, leave and take with them. We have a business that's relatively flexible and mobile. If we have to move to another country, then we can do so. But a lot of people, they work at a normal 9-to-5 job, and if they leave, then they're not going to be able to have that job anymore, clearly and obviously, and they're going to have to end up spending time in wherever they end up looking for a new job. And that new job might not pay as much. That new job might not be as good or as flexible for their families. So in a lot of ways, we're incredibly privileged in the position that we're in, but it's still incredibly stressful. So that's what I'm really outraged about.